All right, great. All right. So, welcome to the Oh Hell No podcast, Lenora Easter. I didn't mess up.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on.
Yes, I'm so excited. So today we're trying the video again, guys, because remember, I posted earlier this week that I tried a video and I looked crazy. So I'm trying it again. So if I look crazy again, it's not gonna make it.
Well, you're looking pretty cute to me, so
Thank you. So do you.
thank you.
Right. So Lenora Easter, she is an attorney, a criminal attorney, and I'm very excited to talk to her tonight. We're going to talk about her career. We're going to talk about a little Black Lives Matter, and then we're going to talk about health proxies. So thank you so much for being here. I'm really excited to talk to you. So, the first thing is let's just dive into the Black Lives Matter stuff. So it's a really challenging time for our community. There's a lot going on. So tell me, how have you been, helping out with this movement?
Yes, so it is a very challenging time for us, especially as African Americans. This is, something that it's not really all too new. We see it on the news, but it's not new. And as a public defender, over 11 years, it's definitely not new to me. I see racism, injustice, and bias in the courts day in and day out when dealing with my clients. What I've been trying to do, is channel that energy and help the Bronx community. And so I work for the Bronx Defenders, and I am the team lead of the Early Defense Team. And the Early Defense Team is a group of advocates and attorneys that assist the Bronx community early on in their situation. And we try to prevent their issues from becoming cases. And we do that in the family ACS arena, criminal, immigration, as well as in a variety of civil matters. And what we have done this past week and a half is we've manned a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week hotline. And what we was we were answering calls all day, kind of like for the past week and a half, for people who were protesting and they either got arrested or they came into some sort of contact with NYPD. And we didn't do it just in the Bronx, we did it citywide. And so that's where I channeled most of my energy, is to making sure that I was there to help the community in whatever way that I can, because I wasn't physically able to go out and, march or be a part of the different protests, but I was able to be there to assist them with their legal needs when.
Right, absolutely. And that's what I feel. Not everybody is going to be able to go out there and be on the front lines, right? That's not everybody's story. But there are other ways that we can all participate and help and do whatever we can. Like me, I was just posting things online, just retweeting things, and just making sure that people know that I'm about this movement as well, because
Yeah.
it's just crazy the stuff that we have to go through and watch our people go through. It's really insane to me.
It really
Um,
is.
yeah, absolutely. So I want to delve into your career. So let's talk about, when did you decide that you wanted to become an attorney?
So it's funny because I kind of come from a law enforcement background. My parents, my stepdad's a retired NYPD officer, and my mom used to be a correction officer. Plus, she was a 911 operator for 10 years. So I knew really early on, like, I wanted to do something in law enforcement. And for those of you who know the show New York Undercover, that was my show back in the day. And I wanted to be a detective. Like, I wanted to have a cool partner, wear some like dress down clothes, and just be out there like patrolling the streets. And so my mom was like, "Well, before you become a detective, you are going to have to like stand outside in the cold and like patrol." And I was like, "In the snow?" And I was just like, "Okay, never mind. You know what? I think I'm just gonna be an attorney." And this was like I was, probably 10 or 11 years old, and that stuck with me. And my career path is not the traditional one where an individual goes to college and then they go straight to law school. I had a gap where I actually worked between college and law school because my parents were going through a divorce and I had to help my mom. And it was my mom that actually told me, she was like, "You, it's time for you to start study for the LSAT, and it's time for you to go to law school. So after 3 years of working, that's what I did. And then I went to law school. I graduated law school. I was 30 years old when I passed, the bar, and I got sworn in on my 30th birthday. And I devoted my career to public defense. And it's funny because of when I first went to law school, I didn't even want to do criminal public defense. I wanted to work with Puff Daddy and be like an entertainment lawyer. And it was my first internship working in the public defender's office that changed my mind and my heart, because as a public defender, we're able to be the voice for an individual that sometimes feels voiceless. And I know that a lot of people, don't think the greatest about public defenders, but we're not all bad. um, we're, we're there when you need them. And the public defenders I've had the pleasure of working alongside have been, badasses. Like they, put their all into their work. The client comes first, and we're going hard for our clients. And so, that's kind of my story of how I became a lawyer, how I became a public defender. And then there was a gap of time where I moved from Florida and I came back to the Bronx. I was born and raised in the Bronx, but then I went to school out in Florida and practiced out there for a little bit. And I did some civil work, but I yearned to be back into the courtroom. I yearned to be back, helping people. It's not about money. You can make a lot of money, but are you making any difference? Are you making a change? Like that's what drove me. And so I wound up going back into public defense, and I worked with Bronx offenders, and here I am. And like I said, working now in the community with my new team, and we're just trying to make things better, especially for the Bronx community.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great. I wanted to become an attorney when I was younger too, and I don't know what changed my mind. Oh, I know. I I became a paralegal.
Okay.
And then I was like, let me test this out and see if it's really for me. And I did that for a while, and I was like,
What area of law were you doing paralegal in?
Medical malpractice, defense.
Okay.
And it was really interesting. I kind of enjoyed it. I wanted to do the criminal lawyer thing because I too was just passionate about people, being wrongly accused and charged. And I'm like, this is not right. Like there has to be somebody to defend these people, blah, blah, blah. But then I started thinking, wait a minute now, it might get kind of scary. I'm always like getting nervous about, is somebody going to attack me? Like what, just I started having thoughts like that because I took criminology and all of those criminal justice classes, and it started freaking me out. And I was like, maybe that's not for me, but let me go be a paralegal and do those steps. And through being a paralegal, I realized, they have to read a lot. They have to like write a lot. Like that's a lot. And their hours are really late.
Yeah.
It's like,
I mean, it really just depends on the type of law that you do, as far as if you be behind a desk doing a lot of paperwork, pushing a lot of papers, or if you're going to be, in the field, on the ground, in the courtroom, it all just depends what type of law you do. And I think I would probably have maybe changed my mind too if I was probably doing medical malpractice. But I was fortunate enough to like get this internship and know that this is what I wanted to do. And so I'm like in court basically like every day, and it gets tiring sometimes, and running around the court, sometimes I just charge it up to my cardio of the day. But I know that I'm making a difference, and some people, they don't appreciate, but then there's that one person that really does, or that one person that, because of what you did, now they can stay in their home. Now they have their liberty. Now they have, they can stay in the country, that because of a criminal case, they're not looking at being deported. That makes a huge difference, and it helps me to sleep at night.
Yeah, that's good. I love that. And it's funny how, like you said, you got that internship that made you feel like, yeah, this is the right path for me. So it's just, I feel like if you're supposed to do something, things will align for you to do what you're supposed to do. So
agree with that. Yep. The universe or God, whoever you believe in, will make sure it finds the way that it's supposed to go.
Exactly. So, people, while I interview, I take notes and I write. So when you see me looking down, I'm not distracted. It's not that Lenora's boring me or I'm falling asleep. I'm taking notes because I am a note taker. So I like to do.
I'm the same way too. Like I have to like write down things because you forget. Like it's so much information being taken in during a day. Like sometimes you just gotta write to jog your memory.
Exactly. So y'all take notes. I take notes. So what was the hardest part of your journey to becoming an attorney? What would you say was that thing that you were like, oh my God, I don't think I'm gonna make it, but you pushed through?
I think the first year of law school, it was really, really hard. One, because like I said, I didn't go right from college to law school. So now I have been out 3 years. So, you're not in the mindset to be studying, to be reading. And first year law school is so hard. You know, it's a lot of reading. It's a lot of writing. You are training your mind to think a certain type of way, the way a lawyer thinks. A lawyer has to be able to look at a case or look at a situation and be able to argue both sides of it. It's not like you can just take one position. In law school, they train you that you have to be able to argue let's say in criminal, the prosecutor side and the defense side. And so, when you don't have that background, because my undergrad was in business, so I was just coming from a whole like left field type of arena. So that first, just getting back used to studying, getting back used to like preparing for tests and getting just acclimated to law school was very hard because they liken it to like boot camp, and it weans out people. It weans out people. Some people don't make it past the first year. You see, like you may start off with a class of 100 students, and by second year, it's like half of that. So I would say that was like the hardest part, and the second hardest was the bar exam. Like,
Oh,
and I had to take it in Florida and in New York. So, oh my God, yeah,
oh my
it
gosh.
was, yeah.
Yeah, I did that.
Yeah,
Wow.
it was hard. You cramming 3 years of law school into 2 days of a test and not knowing what is going to be on there. So it's terrible. Like, but it feels great when you know that you passed it and that part of it is over. You can
Yes, I'm sure. Oh my
yeah.
goodness.
Mhm.
So why did you choose criminal law of all the laws that you could have gone into?
So, like I said earlier, it was that internship changed my heart because initially I wanted to do entertainment law,
Oh,
and
did say
yeah,
that. Yeah.
so I kind of, it was that internship that really just changed my heart and my mind towards wanting to be in the courtroom and being a criminal attorney, and doing public defense.
Okay, cool. So as an attorney, what would you say consumes the most part of your day?
Well, in the field that I am in, it's my cases and my clients. I'm depending on the type of person that you are, it's what you're going to set your priorities to. And with me as an attorney in criminal defense, like I put my clients first. And so I will sometimes leave the office 11:30 at night because yeah, because I want to make sure that one, I'm well prepared for the next day, two, that I've done everything that I need to do while I can sometimes remember for my clients. And I'm a person that I put my all into what I do. And so if that means I got to stay at the office a little later, 5 o'clock, then that's what I'm going to do.
Mm, yeah,
Right.
some late hours.
Yes. Yes. It can be taxing, but, it's part of the job.
So what would you say is the most challenging part about being a criminal attorney?
It's fighting against the system. Um, you know, um, a defendant, when they come to the courtroom, they're the underdog in that situation, and people will oftentimes say, how can you defend a criminal? And if people really knew, you could be driving down the street, get pulled over by a police officer, and now you have a criminal case, and you may have not done anything wrong, or maybe you went out to a party and you got a little tipsy, now you're driving and now you got a DWI. So it's everyday people that come through the system. It's not always bad individuals as people would want to tag them. And at the end of the day, you have rights, and you want to make sure that you have an attorney that is going to fight for your rights. If you have a landlord tenant issue, you want to get an attorney. You want to make sure that that attorney is going to fight for your rights. Whenever you get an attorney, regardless, medical malpractice, if does something wrong, you want an attorney that's going to fight against that doctor for you. It's the same thing, you know. And not everybody gets to walk sky free, goes home or whatever. That's not the majority of the situations that we see. But like I pointed out at the beginning of the conversation, is that we see a lot of racism and injustice and bias in the system that's stacked against people of color that unfortunately make up the majority of the arrests that come through, especially like in the city, especially in the Bronx. And we have people that live in over policed areas, and the police are arresting them for the littlest things that makes no sense. And so I think the hardest part is just being able to sometimes fight against the system, fight against judges, fight against DAs that honestly do not look like and do not understand, the upbringing or the situation that a person finds themselves in, and their first inclination is put them in jail. That's not going to be the fix for everybody. Some people need treatment. Some people need counseling. Some people maybe need community service and they know not to do it again. Not everything.
Yeah, I agree. And I know that has to be frustrating because I'm a very passionate person. So just in conversations about things that I feel strongly about, I'm just like, I go on and on. So I know if I was an attorney, girl, I would be in contempt so many times. I will probably spend a lot of time in jail. So that's probably why God said, boo boo, sit down.
No, but I think we need you. Like I parents, it's funny. My dad is a retired NYPD officer, but I can have a conversation with him, and like we can agree to disagree, and it can be great. And then I'll have a conversation with my mom, and it can be very contentious. But it prepares me for my cases in court because I'm like, okay, I know what the DA is gonna say because I just argued it out with my mom.
Right. So it serves a purpose as well, right? So, what skill sets do you think someone should possess if they want to become a criminal attorney?
So, like I said, you have to be able to argue from both sides. So, critical thinking skills, for the most part, if you're not, you have to be a good writer, because there's a lot of motions, regardless of what area of law you're in. There's a lot of writing, whether you're writing a memo, whether you're writing a motion, there's writing that's involved. There's many areas of the law if you're in court that have oral skills. You have to be able to, speak in public, be able to, or to a jury if you are doing a trial. So those are the main ones that I would say that an individual would want to possess, or at least hone in on, if they want to become a lawyer.
Great. So, okay, I'm going to skip that question because we kind of talked about that already. And I was going to ask, why is it so easy for the police to get approval for like raids and stuff like that without doing their due diligence? But I know that this is a problem within like a corrupt system, and you're wondering the same thing, right? So it doesn't even.
I am.
It's like,
It's how they say some things are above me now. There are some things that are like, above my level. I can only do my part in my role, but a lot of it too, it's judges, it's DAs, it's legislators that play a huge part in the laws that they make, what they will allow into even evidence. Like, when we have trials, there are certain things that when, there's a hearings that we have, like, to basically suppress certain evidence that we feel that, or we know that the officer obtained illegally. And it's up to the judge to make the decision whether or not that officer did it illegally or not. And I think, there needs to be like judges that are willing to be like, no, like they and suppress the evidence. And just from what I see sometimes is like we have some judges that are not willing to do that, or they take a neutral stance because they don't want to be called out or be put in the newspaper or anything like that. And so, I think it takes everybody that's in the system to pull together and to do the right thing to make it work. And I sometimes question, is that ever going to happen?
right.
One could only hope, because it's getting, to me, sometimes I look at it, it seems like it's just getting worse.
Right.
But I still have hope every day that I go to work that I'm making a difference.
Right. I agree. I feel like when I'm like every other news story is like this person got killed, this person got shot. Like then you know that rapper Papoose, he made this song and he used the alphabet to just list out a couple of people that were murdered by police, right? And there's the
Mm.
video, the footage. I'm just like, how can this be life? Like this
Yeah.
is crazy. And what kind of people are these people who are just gunning down people for no reason, for stupidness? You
Yeah.
know, our young black boys, they're learning how to drive. They have their driver's license. They're going out and driving and they're getting pulled over, slammed against the concrete, you know, roughed up,
Mhm.
and they didn't even do anything.
Right.
It's just
Right.
so infuriating. And it's like you said, when will it stop? I mean, I feel like we're making some headway now with this, you know, everything that's going on, but I just hope that it doesn't stop, you know?
No, and you're right. You only, like you said earlier, like we have a role. Each one of us have a role. Like, you said like you couldn't be out there protesting. You were posting. I was out there protesting. I was manning the hotline. So even in our world and in our justice system and everything that we do in society, we all play a role in social change. And we just have to figure out what our role is and then, exercise that to the best of our abilities because it's gonna take everybody pulling together,
Yeah.
black, white, boy, girl, it doesn't matter, like judge, regular person, legislator, like Congress, president, like everybody pulling together.
Don't even get me
I
started
know
on
that's
that.
another story.
That's a
But
whole
with that, I just want to encourage people that vote. Go out there and vote. That's the only
yeah,
way. That's one of the ways I should say that change is going to be made. Is it's easy to say I'm not going to vote. Whatever. He's probably going to win. No, like go out there and vote. It makes a difference. That one can be that difference. So
yeah.
I want to encourage people like if you feel that you don't have a role in anything else, vote. Go and vote. That's your role.
Right. Yes, please listen to Lenora. These are very important words that she's speaking right now. Please go out and vote. Don't say, oh, this person's going to win. My vote doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It does matter. Even if you
Yeah.
think it doesn't matter, go in there and vote. And also, is it true that if you've been arrested or if you have a felony or something like that, that you can't vote? What is the, because I
So
think,
it's state by state. It's not like on a federal level, but yes, there are some people who have been convicted of a felony and they are unable, to vote. But then there are some states that have things in place where they can assist that person. You would have to probably Google. I know New York that that's something that we can do. We will at least in our office as well. People can come and we can see if we can help them to get their rap sheet kind of like fixed. First of all, you want to check your rap sheet because sometimes there's things on there that shouldn't be there, and that can be hindering you from being able to vote or to be able to like do certain things. And then talk with a professional that would be able to look into seeing, looking, reversing that so that you would have the ability to vote. State
see,
by state
yeah.
situation.
See, so that's another thing too. Don't let them tell you that you're washed, you can't vote, it's over. No, there may be a way that you can fix that or get that revoked. So people look into that because that's an important right, and people fought for that right, right?
They,
So,
they sure did.
okay, let's just be clear.
Yes.
So, how do you take care of Lenora to make sure that her mental health is right? Because I know that you have a very stressful job, and I know that you see a lot of things that probably just like kills your spirit, your soul, you know, but you got to get back up and fight every day. So, what are you doing to take care of yourself? And also, how do you maintain hopeful and faithful that, you know, you got to keep going and doing what you're doing despite all the things that are happening around us?
Right. So, I mean, I don't exercise it as much as I should, self-care. But before COVID, I would at least once a month get a massage
Nice.
and like kind of have like a day of pampering, like go get my nails or my toes done and just kind of relax and disconnect from work because it could be really hard to do that. I would also try to travel, take vacations. I like to cruise because I feel like when I would be on a cruise, I could totally disconnect because there was no Wi-Fi, no cellular, so I wasn't checking emails, I wasn't responding to text messages or anything like that. So that would sometimes be my pastime. But now with COVID, yeah, we're not going on no cruise anytime.
I know.
What I try to do is, I try to disconnect as much as I can. And like I said, it's been really difficult to do that. I find it even a little difficult because now working at home, you go to work and then you would leave work and you would come home. But now home is your, sometimes it's hard to
Yeah.
separate the two. What I try to do is maybe do my work in area of the house and then maybe keep my room for like me, so I'm not doing like, have my laptop or have work out on the bed. And like, what keeps me going is honestly is God. I come from a Christian home, and I grew up, my grandparents were pastors, and prayer keeps me going. And I know that's not everybody's thing, but it's mine. And it's sometimes when I feel like I can't express it to people, or I can't express it to my mom, who's like my best friend, because she ain't getting it, even if I gotta cry it out, I feel like God is hearing me, and He somehow makes the load a little bit lighter for me. And He gives me the strength to be able to bear and keep going on. So God is good all the time for this girl,
Yeah.
and that keeps me going. And that's the hope that I put my trust in, that helps me to do this job for at least 11 years now.
Wow. Yep, God is good. My mother
Amen.
loves to cruise too. Honey, she has her cruise booked already for next year. I'm like, you might want to slow down with that. She's like, oh no, I'm going on my cruise. Like, she
I
loves
see
it.
people all these different discounts, and they're tempting, but I'm just like, I'm
Yeah,
not really
right.
trying
How
to
people were
get the
stranded.
Rona. Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, I think that they're refundable. So, like, if we're still finding ourselves in, this situation, no vaccine or anything like that, she should probably consider pushing it back more.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm just like, nah, like, I'm gonna take my little coins. I'm gonna wait for them to be like, we got a vaccine. A sister could get that vaccine, and she go on this cruise to get that Rona, and I'll be good to go.
Right, right. Okay.
Mhm.
So finish this sentence. Don't become an attorney if.
Your heart is not in it.
Mm,
If you don't have the passion for it, like a pastor would say, if you ain't got the anointing for it, don't do it. It's not for you, because it's a hard profession.
mhm.
Um, but if you have, it's with any job, if you have the passion and the desire and it's the heart for it, then it's not a job. Oh, it's like second nature. But that's my thing. Like, if you ain't got the passion for it or the heart for it, don't do it.
Yeah, I agree. So dispel a misconception about criminal attorneys that you've heard or you want people to know that's not true. You did one already where you said they think all public defenders are terrible. So what's another one that you think people have a misconception about criminal attorneys?
Mm, I mean, most of mine are because of public defense. Like, they think that we're working with the district attorneys, and
Oh,
like we're actually
so,
against them,
uh,
especially if we get paid like by the city or whatever. So then we're not really on their side, and that's not the truth at all. Like, yeah, we may get paid from the city, and my organization is also a nonprofit, so we also have private funding, but like, we're there for the client. We're not against you. We awful.
yeah, and I think TV does that too. They make y'all look like y'all cutting deals on the side and right.
That's not happening. At least not with me. Like, my thing is, I tell my clients, and sometimes they're like, I don't want to hear it. If a DA comes and a ADA comes and they give you a plea offer, it's by law. I have to tell them what it is, and it doesn't mean I'm working with them because now I'm trying to get you to take a plea. What I'm doing is I am informing. You can make an informed decision as to the way you want your case to go. Do you want to fight it and go to trial, or do you want to be like, you know what, I'm going to resolve it with this and keep it moving? Like, it's like a doctor. I give you all the information and you make the decision. Am I going to have this surgery? Am I not going to have this surgery? That's what I do. Doesn't mean I'm working with the other side. Doesn't mean I'm against you. It means I'm actually for you, and I want you to make an informed decision.
Okay, so there you have it, people. All right, so let's talk a little bit about health proxies. So I wanted to talk about health proxy, guys, because I think that it's an important topic, and I feel like a lot of people really don't understand what a health proxy is, and I don't want you guys to learn about it when it's too late, and you might make a bad decision under duress, and then it's a wrap. So, we're talk-
Definitely.
so explain to people what a health proxy is.
So a healthcare proxy is basically it's a document that you would fill out and you would designate someone as your agent. That person can be a family member, it can be a close friend, even be your spouse, and they would make healthcare decisions for you in the event that you're unable to make these decisions for yourself. You can consider it like a power of attorney that specifically covers medical healthcare decisions.
So, how do you get the healthcare proxy document?
So for New York, you can go right online and you can Google it, and it will come up. And I think it's like 8 pages long, but a lot of it is just information of how to actually fill it out and giving you background information so that you know what you are actually filling out. The form itself that you fill out, I think, is actually 2 pages. And when you're doing the form, you want to first and foremost designate the right person. That's crucial and that's key. You want to have a conversation with the person. You want to, discuss if I'm ever in a situation where, let's say you're in a coma and you can't speak for yourself, or you have Alzheimer's, or you get dementia and you now cannot make decisions for yourself. You want to have a conversation with your agent so that they can make the decisions as if it were you. And so in filling out that form, it should be done with the person together, and you delineate what it is that you give them permission to do. It can be they can make all types of medical decisions for you. You can specify certain decisions that they're only willing to make, and then you would sign it in the presence of two witnesses. It does not have to be notarized. One of the two witnesses cannot be the person that you are actually delineating as your agent.
Okay. So now would you just keep that document like is it small enough to put in your wallet, or how do you enforce it? Like, just in case an emergency happens, you are in the hospital, how did the hospital know that you have a health proxy?
So you can give it to your primary care physician so they have it on file. So if the hospital ever reaches out to them, they would have it. Or if you find yourself in a situation where now you're in the hospital unexpectedly, your agent should have a copy where they can then give it to the hospital and they can then be able to follow that directive. That happened recently with my mom and my uncle because he was sick with COVID. And we all know that the individuals that are being taken into the hospital with COVID, you can't go with them. And so, I had to draft it for her and she took it into the hospital, gave it to the nurse. They put it in his file and she was able to call and get information and make certain decisions for him.
Awesome. So, um, let's see. Can you have more than one health proxy?
So the form allows for only one proxy at a time, but that person doesn't have to be edged in stone. If you decide that that person no longer, benefits you and you want someone else, you can. It's easy as just basically tearing up the paper, drafting a new one, putting the new person on there, getting the two witnesses to sign, giving that new paper to your primary care physician, having a copy on your person, and then also giving a copy to that patient, and then they would be able to do it, and it's simple as that.
So if you are married, you can assign someone other than your spouse to be your healthcare proxy.
That is correct. It doesn't have to be your spouse. The normal go-to is usually your spouse, but it can be someone, it can be a sibling, it can be a parent. And that's why it's important to do that, because maybe you feel that, like, I love us, but I don't think that they're going to make a good decision on my behalf, because maybe they're going to be emotional in the situation and, not be able to really think themselves. And so it's important that you think about this ahead of time. I think healthcare proxy does is it forces us to think about these situations, because we never know when we'll find ourselves in a situation unexpectedly where we're unable to communicate and make decisions for ourselves. And so it forces you ahead of time to think these things through and prepare, somewhat like a will. It's not a will, but it's like, okay, I'm getting my affairs in order.
Yes, absolutely. So now I have a sister. Let's say my mom I'm my mom's health proxy, and I'm making decisions, and my sister doesn't agree with the decisions that I'm making. Could she challenge the health proxy document?
As the health proxy was executed, correctly, meaning that you didn't try to force your mom to make you it or anything like that, and your mom was in her right mind when she did it, and you're making the decisions in good faith along the lines of what she has
Mhm.
delineated in that proxy, you're fine. Your sister can go to court and she can try to contest it, but I don't think that she would survive like her, petition in court, because as long as you're doing everything right and it was executed right, you're gonna be fine.
Okay. All right. So thank you very much for the information on healthcare proxy. So, do you feel like you are doing purpose-driven work? And if you do, what part of it feeds your soul?
I do feel like I'm doing purpose driven work because I feel like, I'm doing work that I don't necessarily get a huge paycheck out of. It's not like it's a personal gratification situation. I feel like actually it's me being selfless and helping individuals who are not able to help themselves. And, I pray every day that like I'm doing it the right way, that I'm making a difference in somebody's life. And sometimes it's not even the actual representation on the lawyer side. Like sometimes you come into people like younger adults or another female or whatever, and you just have like a life talk with them, like maybe you shouldn't be in this relationship, or you're hanging around the wrong crowd and you realize that you're the good person and that's why you're here, because it's always the good person that gets caught. And it's sometimes just having those one-on-one life talks with people that makes the difference. It's also the representation, but I try to I see my clients as human beings, as like they could be a child, or they could be my sibling, they could be my cousin. And if I can impart some sort of wisdom or knowledge, a little bit that I have, I do it, and I think that that's the most fulfilling part of my job, is being able to do that.
Nice. So, on the Oh Hell No podcast, I always ask my guests to share an Oh Hell No moment that's either taught them something or changed their perspective on something in life. So, please share an Oh Hell No moment with us.
So I'm going to take it back to law school around that time, um, and studying for the bar. And so, after I finished law school, graduated, me and my friends and my well, they weren't colleagues at that time, but my classmates were studying for the bar, and it took like three and a half months to study for the bar. And I just knew that I was ready, and we went in there and we took that test 2 days, and it takes about like 2 or 3 months to get the
Oh,
results. So I enjoyed my summer. Yeah,
that's
so
gorgeous.
like you want to kind of like just let it go, but it's hard because it's on your mind. Like, did I pass? And in Florida, we get our results in September. And I remember I was actually up in New York, because I took the bar in Florida, is where I took it first. And I was up in New York and I was with my family, and my parents was at the dentist, and I friends texting me saying, "Hey, I passed the bar, the result." And I knew within myself that I had passed. And when I looked, I had failed. And I was just like, "Oh no, I didn't." Like I couldn't believe what I was looking at. And like it was a shocking moment, but then it went to tears and crying on the Bronx Street in Parkchester. And my parents came out and was like, "What happened?" And I told them, I was like, "I failed the bar." And I was like, "Okay, well, you know what that means? To I'm not taking it again. Like it was strenuous the first time around. I'm not taking it again. I'm just gonna go find me a job. I'm gonna work." And as I said, my mom is like my best friend, and she usually like has these talks with me, and she let me sulk for a day. And then she came in the room and she was just like, "Okay, so no, you're not gonna just not take that test again. You're gonna sign up for, study, your study group, and you're going to take the exam again. And we're gonna pray, and you're gonna pass." And I was like, "No, no, no." And she's like, "Yes, you're gonna have faith. You're gonna believe it. You're gonna pass it." And sure enough, she went with me to take the bar exam, and she stayed the whole day praying while I was in there, taking the exam. And I passed the exam that time around. And what it has taught me is that in life, you're going to fail. And failing is inevitable. And, even as a public defender, as a criminal defense attorney, we go in, we fail, we don't pass our trials, we don't win our trials. You don't always win. And that lessons told me that no matter what, even if you do fail, it's how you respond to it. It's how you get back up and you put your all into it and saying, okay, this didn't work. Let's try it this way. This don't work. You try it this way. Like Cardi B says, you can get knocked down 9, you get up. And that's that's what I learned in the moment, that it's gonna be failure in life, but you don't never give up. You just don't
Yeah.
ever give up. You keep.
Absolutely. I
Mm-hmm.
love that moment. Yeah. I did
Mm-hmm.
hear that test was hard. I had another attorney on the show and he said it was really hard and he had to take it more than twice.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. It is. It is. But you know, you work so hard. You go through the schooling, the studying, that it's something within you that just is like, okay, if I don't pass it, I'm gonna go back and get it. I have to attain this. This is the end goal, at least before you start looking for a job. This is the end goal for this part of, the process.
yeah, absolutely. Well, it was such a pleasure having you on the show. Thank you so much.
I had fun talking with you.
I'm glad you did. So tell everyone where they can keep up with Lenora ESQ.
So yes, as I said, I am an attorney at the Bronx Defenders. If you find yourself in a situation where you come into contact with NYPD and you need to reach out to an attorney, you can contact us via our emergency hotline at 347-778-1266. You can look me up on IG at Lawyer Lady Easter. And you can also email me if you have any questions or whatever. I will be happy to respond to you. And that's going to be at Lenora Advisory Group, all one word, at gmail.com.
Is that a side hustle, Lenora?
It's a sister trying to do her thing.
Okay. Okay.
I might have to come back on once we get that up and going because it is new.
Okay.
And talk about the work that we're doing with the consulting work. Yes. Hmm.
Nice. We'll definitely come back and talk about it, girl.
All right.